I'm Captain Larry Bell with Texas Fishing Tips, and this is your weekly fishing report.
Up here in Mustang Lake, all up here close to San Antonio Bay, this whole area back in here. Good soft little wading area, a lot of good scattered shell that's back in here. Just make sure you got your boots and stuff tied on real tight because some of this mud gets pretty sticky back in here. There's been a nice amount of redfish that's been caught back off this back shoreline all the way back up in here. Again, the back shoreline here. Find your bait working. Topwater has been doing pretty good. You'll get some nice action on it if the blow-ups are happening on there and they're not consistently getting after it. Switch over to a double D. The double D has been working really well off back in this area as well. You can work that bait down into that water column where those fish are hanging out. Also, the down south lures have been working real well. The darker versions of those, whichever ones that you like, just make sure it's got a darker profile on it, and you'll have some good success catching some solid trout that are back in here as well. Sundown Bay, all on the back shoreline here. There's some nice scattered grass that's up here against the shoreline and out in the middle of it. Find where your bait is working. Find that good concentration of bait. There's been some nice rafted mullet. The bait fish are starting to make their migration out to the Gulf as the wintertime is getting closer. So there won't be as much bait working around, so that makes the artificial game that much more important. If you're working your artificials really well, then your success rate's going to go real high. You'll enjoy throwing a lot of artificials during this wintertime season. Find that grass, find that bait working, throw your darker down south through here. Mirrodines are starting to really pick up. The action on those has been real good. Trout action on the mirrodines has been solid. Your redfish on your down south lures up against the shoreline have been real good. Again, find the back lake mouth entrances, work around those. Be real consistent working around that. Some of them you have to maybe just wait a little bit, be a little patient with it, but you'll find some fish that are working up and down this back shoreline. Here in Long Reef Bend, all these back lakes again that drop off out into this big flat that's out here. Find you an area where these bait fish are working. Get out there in the middle, up against the shoreline, in front of duck blinds, behind the duck blinds, wherever you like. Again, where the bait's mostly concentrated, and fish this whole area. There's some nice fish that are hanging out here on this, off this edge that's out here on this big flat out here in Long Reef Bend. Good trout. Working on down south lures. The darker versions have been very solid. Good production bait there. Again, the mirrodines, soft dines have been working real well. Your double D's have been working well. The corky game is starting to really come into play here. If you're a good corky guy, get them out, dust them off, keep chunking them, keep working them. Perfect them, get them ready for the bigger trout season that's ahead of us. There's some really solid fish that are hanging up here on this flat. Some that you really won't be disappointed with if you get a hold of, and any one of those baits will produce it. Over here on Dunham, all the way down this shoreline. Work this whole shoreline all the way up and down. You got the nice little drop that's right there from the old intercoastal that used to go through there. Continue to work this whole thing. Work the edges out there. Again, we've got a little bit higher water that's still holding in here. There's been some nice fish that are holding up against this shoreline. There's been some scattered redfish that are up and down here that have hit the burner shads by down south. They have hit the jerk shrimp by marker 54. They have worked well. The mullet run by marker 54 has produced some good fish up and down here. Again, your standbys, your double D's, your down south lures, the supermodel have worked real well. So it's just there's a variety of bait that you can chunk up and down the shoreline. Find where your bait fish are working. Take your time working it. You'll find some nice solid trout, good box trout that are there. There are some lower slot redfish that are there, and you'll get a surprise flounder from time to time if you're a good flounder guy that can work that, especially in the season right now where you can only get them by rod and reel. So remember that. You got two with rod and reel only, but there are a few that are scattered up and down the shoreline. Port Bay down here in Italian Bend, this whole back shoreline, all down in here. Again, with the water being up, all this area back down in here, they got a couple of these little back lake entrances that dump out into Italian Bend. Work that whole shoreline there. There's been some scattered redfish that are back in here, not too many. There's been more trout that's been hanging back in here, an occasional flounder as well. You're down south. The soft dines have worked pretty good in this area here. There's a good amount of grass that's working all back in this area here. And if you're not finding the success you need here, then slide on over here to the other side of Port Bay. All on this side over here against this shoreline, this little cove Work this area back in here. There's some nice trout that are hanging back in this area as well. On your soft dines, your down south lures, your burner shads have been good in here. Again, pull your corkies out, start working them. It's corky season is getting better and better and better each and every day as we get through this closer to December, January, and February. It's a great time now to really focus on those and really get good with them, and you will find you some solid fish that are hanging up and down in here. And on that note, I'd like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Have safe travels and holidays, and enjoy your day.
Thanks for watching. I'm Captain Larry Bell.